What is up, everybody? Welcome to. It'd help if I had the microphone closer, right? What is going on? Everything's broken today. There we go. What is up, everyone? Welcome to the pre-party with J-Cal. My name is J-Cal. Sorry about that misfire there for a second. The camera wasn't working. Well, if we were professional here, you guys wouldn't know what to think. So we try to keep it as rank amateur as possible. Again, thanks for everyone for tuning in. I see Willie's in the house. The great Keith is in the house. Our pal Jeremy's in the house. If you're here, just say hi, man. We want to know who's watching this program. If you don't feel like talking, you don't have to jump in. But each and every Tuesday, the hour before Power, we talk to you, the hashtag NWA fan, and we go over all the news information for the National Wrestling Alliance each and every week right here on YouTube at 5 o'clock Pacific. And, if you guys weren't aware of this, we are also the number one source for news information for the National Wrestling Alliance at alliance-wrestling.com. We're also chock full of SoCal wrestling goodness. Make sure you check that out. We do talk about more than just the NWA on the website, but make sure to check that out. United Wrestling Network, the SoCal indie scene. We cover wrestling promotions in New Jersey and in Texas and beyond. So if you enjoy pro wrestling, this is the place to be. The alliance-wrestling.com is website you should be visiting. And, hey, man, thanks for checking us out. We're here every Tuesday. Yesterday, we did the interview with SoCal Crazy, and I had a great time with it. I think you guys should check it out. You might enjoy it, too. Crazy was very open about his recent, I guess it's not recent anymore, but his diagnosis with stage 4 colon cancer and how he battled back, and his hopes and his dreams are to get back in that ring, hopefully in 2023. But before that, he is hosting an event to create a cancer awareness. It's called Hermanos Contra Cancer, Brothers Fighting Cancer, and they'll be having a show on November 12th in Southern California. There'll be streaming options available. If you guys want to check it out, make sure you stay tuned to alliance-wrestling.com. Good dude. Really enjoyed talking to him. And then we have a poll right now in the chat. If you're following along on YouTube, the question is: are you enjoying the national title? Excuse me, I'm a little under the weather. Are you enjoying the national title tournament? You only got 2 options: yes or no. Let us know how you feel about the tournament as it's going on right now. If you guys weren't aware, the National Wrestling Alliance announced a tournament to crown a number one contender for the Cyon National Championship, and that match will happen at the Hard Times 3 in Louisiana, in South Orleans. And already created this tournament to advance had Silas, Lamar. They defeated Mayweather, former champion. Chris Adonis, former champion, defeated until defeating McMichael, and Brian Myers defeating Mike Bennet. And then also in other tournament action, a couple of weeks back, we had Dak Draper defeating Jax Dane with Chris Silvio by disqualification, defeating the former champion by DQ. Hey, hook, crook, or whatever, he advances in the tournament. And Jade Dumas defeated Luke Hawx to get into the tournament. Dodie, you said there's a sound problem. Do you still hear the sound problem? Does anyone else have any sound issues? Is it just Dodie? Can anyone else hear me? Test? Anyone in the chat? Anyone? Willie? Jeremy? Lisa? Anybody? Can you hear me? Well, this is fun. Okay, yeah, it was probably the fan. All right, well, the fan's moved now. Okay, sorry about that. So anyways, so we have some tournament matches already advancing. Brian Myers tonight. Brian Myers will be taking on Dax Draper, and I think that's going to be a very fun match because we don't know a whole lot about Dax Draper here in the NWA. Again, was able to squeeze out a victory against the former champion Jax Dane by disqualification. So now we're really going to see what we're going to see what Dax Draper is made of when he's in the ring with Mr. Professional Wrestling, Brian Myers. And then also in the second round, a semifinal match tonight, we're going to have Jade Dumas battling Chris Adonis. And again, Magic Jade Dumas always has a trick up his sleeve with the beautiful CJ by his side. And, Dumas getting past Luke Hawx was no easy task. And it's actually interesting. If I was booking this tournament, everyone that advanced probably wouldn't have advanced if I was booking it. Because I think I would have used Luke Hawx. I think I would have had Caprice Coleman. I think I would have had, if I were to look back at the tournament matches, I think I would have had, where was it lost here? I think I would have had Mayweather go, well, no, I would have had Thrillbilly go over Mayweather. I would have used this whole tournament to go young, or at least new faces. And then I probably would have kept Judeus over Mercurio. And so I mean, the tournament is starting to shape up. Tell me what you guys think about it. If you guys are in the chat, tell me what you think about the NWA National Title Tournament. Let me get some water here. Little under the weather today, so I apologize if I seem a little scattered. I'm not feeling myself right now, but I feel it's really interesting that the NWA is deciding to determine a number one contender in this route. It certainly gives some depth to the programming. Of course, USA is the home of the NWA National Championship. That's where it's supposed to be kind of centered and focused. So I'm kind of surprised that they're moving the tournament matches to Power instead of leaving them on USA. But, I'm sure they have their reasons for that. And as we further expand, we're starting to see some more things happen with the NWA. Of course, that roster is getting bigger and bigger. Billy Corgan is out on the road. They're starting to tour with the Smashing Pumpkins. They released a single today, a video that featured. I know it's Natalia Markova. I know it's Brian Mercurio, excuse me, and I know that our pal Cyon is in it. I believe it's also. I want to say it's Taran Terrell, but it's kind of hard to make out. I can't really tell. But I think that the NWA is starting to build up that momentum again to Hard Times 3. We've already know that. Well, I guess we didn't really talk about this last week because it was kind of breaking news. But our gal Camille will be heading to AAA to battle the Reina de Reinas champion in Taya Valkyrie. Now that match is happening, I believe, before Hard Times. I believe it's happening in October. And what's interesting about that, what's compelling about that is, if they put both titles on the line, and they haven't yet, they haven't initiated that, they haven't suggested that. But if they end up putting both titles on the line, then our girl Camille, the Brickhouse, right? The lady who's the one-time Burke holder, maybe she can hold the Reina de Reinas championship. Or worse, depending on who you look at, maybe Taya Valkyrie wins the women's championship. It's an interesting set of issues for the NWA. Of course, this is one of the biggest profile matches that Camille has had in her young career. Being in that venue for Triple Mania, look, AAA is not the powerhouse it was maybe a decade ago, but it's still probably the biggest wrestling promotion in Mexico. And when you look at the size of AAA, it's kind of on par with AEW and Impact. It's probably bigger than Impact. It's not as big as New Japan Pro Wrestling, but it's one of the top 5 wrestling promotions in the world. And Camille's going to help contribute to that event by being in the women's title match. And I think that's a very, very big deal. And then Jeremy says, personally, I'd have Gags go over Mayweather Crimson or whatever he's going by today, but that's just me. I like Draper to go over Myers. If Draper goes over, that's pretty unprecedented for a newcomer to come to the NWA and immediately go on a winning streak. I see for the National Wrestling Alliance where it seems like when new talent comes in, they kind of have to get worked into these storylines. And I don't feel like Draper has had that struggle since coming to the NWA. Even looking at Cyon, who is your current national champion, his road to title was literally a year long, right? And his first title match didn't happen for a much greater time than his debut. So, it would be cool, and I'm excited for it, but I'm not sure how that's going to pan out, how that's going to work. Lamb's in the house. Lamb says, "Is it worse if Tyra would win it? She has the Reina La Reinas title, the MLW featherweight title, and if she wins the NWA women's title, it would be something. And she could still win the Impact Gold." You're 100% right, Lamb, and I guess I misspoke because I'm kind of a Camille homer, but I'm also a big fan of what Taya Valkyrie is doing, what she's done in the past, and what she currently is doing today. I don't really think there's a wrong answer here. There is something to be said that if Camille can retain that women's championship through all the adversity that she's faced, through all the opponents that she's faced, that means a lot. She keeps saying one time, and that's significant because how many times as a champion, we talk about how great Ric Flair was, and how many times he held the 10 pounds of gold, how many world championships he held. But remember, for every time he won the title, that means he lost the title. And I'm not saying that that's a huge negative, but when you look at somebody like Roman Reigns, who's now held the WWE World Championship for over 2 years and unified it with the Universal Championship, that's a pretty dominant task. It's pretty remarkable to hold that belt for so long, knowing that he's faced guys like Brock Lesnar and I don't know enough of the WWE roster to keep going, but look, he's going to lose the belt to Logan Paul anyways, but it's pretty impressive for him to hold that title for 2+ years. And Camille, in the same vein, is Lamb's calling me out of my shit today. But if Taya does come in and win that championship, it certainly will disrupt the narrative that Camille will be that one-time champion. What's up, Jason? What's up, media? How you guys doing? And Lamb says, really? Adonis came in and won the national title right away. Fair enough. And that's a good point, Lamb. I will backpedal a little bit and say the majority of the NWA audience knew who Chris Adonis was. I'm not saying that he was The Rock or anything like that, but certainly had some of that WWE value attached to his name, even though it had been a while since he'd been in the WWE ring. Everyone that saw him immediately said, what? It's Chris Masters. But, of course, look, I'm just saying traditionally, when you see guys come in, Lara Bellion didn't get pushed to the titles immediately. it took some time for that storyline to develop. When we looked at some of the other guys, again, like Cyon or even Jax Dane, this time in the NWA, he didn't get very many opportunities to challenge for the for the national title. So I feel like there's some merit to that. But you're right, Lamb. Adonis is the exception to that. And of course, Lamb tells you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. I do appreciate it, guys. I do see new faces all the time, so that means we're doing something right. I do appreciate you guys being here, part of Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. We're always podcasting here, and like I said yesterday, we did an interview with SoCal Crazy. If you're into SoCal independent wrestling or just the David Marquez version of the NWA, there's a lot of great stories involved there, and a really good dude, and he's putting on a benefit for a very good cause. I hope you guys will check it out. James Bell says, losing to Logan Paul is the equivalent of the WCW David Arquette Championship. Yes and no. Yes and no. I see where you're coming from, James. David Arquette was an actor. Period. He started in a wrestling movie. Period. Now, was he a fan? Sure, he was a fan. Great, that's cool. Logan Paul has dipped his toes into the world of mixed martial arts. I mean, I know his brother Jake Paul is the real boxer in the family, but Logan got in a boxing match with Floyd Mayweather. Now, was it work? Was it shoot? I can't tell you. I don't know. I would imagine that Floyd Mayweather would have destroyed that guy in a real fight. So I'm sure that there was some chicanery going on, of course. But the guy looks like an athlete. He's dedicated himself. He's not just some slob. And with all due respect to our pal David Arquette, who certainly had a resurgence 2 or 3 years ago and really did get trained and looked like a wrestler and acted like a wrestler, Logan Paul showed up ready to play. He didn't show up looking like a jackass, all pun included. He was there to work, man, and he wrestled a very good match against. Initially, he and The Miz had a very good tag team match against the Mysterios at WrestleMania, and then later was able to have a very good match with The Miz, and he looked good. Now, I'm not saying that Miz didn't probably carry some of that, but when you watch Logan Paul in the ring, he's got some natural athleticism, and I wouldn't make. I'm not advocating for him to win the title at Crown Jewel, and this is not a WWE podcast, but I definitely see dollar signs by using Logan Paul, and I'm sure that's bringing more people to that product who previously weren't watching because of it. But that's all I'll say about that. Willie Bowen says, wasn't Chris Masters a former NWA World Tag Team Champion? You know what? I believe you're right. I'm going to source you, though, real quick. But, yeah, I think he actually did hold an NWA title before. Yeah, well, okay, so technically he was an Ohio Valley Southern Tag Team Champion when they were affiliated with the NWA. And then when he was the Vendetta Pro Heavyweight Champion, Vendetta Pro was a member of the NWA. So technically, but he had nothing to do with really the Billy Corgan era of the NWA, nor were those having those titles indicative of like his NWA career now. I don't think anybody who's watching Vendetta Pro who lived in, King City, California, is aware of or was predicting that he'd be in the NWA in 2022. But I see Heaves is here. Hey Heaves, what did you think of that interview with SoCal Crazy? Because that might have been my favorite interview I did this year. Him and Tommy Wilson, I thought were both really good. Let me know what you think about those. I thought it went really well. And Lou Pez says, good morning. And I'm asking Lou, where are you at right now? Are you in China? Where is it? Good morning. Or, never mind. That was insensitive of me. I get it. I think you work nights, right? Yeah. Okay. I think so. Media Empire says it's almost the same. Both are entertainment background, one acting, one social media. YouTube videos. Both turn out to be combat-like sports. Very similar. Yeah, I think, both the Paul brothers are very athletic. And, I mean, you cannot deny that. The thing about it is, like, WWE has found this very interesting way of doing things. Like, and we saw Impact do this years ago, but they were using like C-list celebrities, D-list celebrities, former pro athletes, and trying to put them into wrestling matches. I could think of, oh God, who was that guy's name? They did baseball players. They had NASCAR guys. They had even a former NFL football player. Anyways, all of those were fun, but the guys that were involved never really took wrestling seriously, right? Like I know Ron Truth was teaming with one of the guys, and I can't remember his name, but the guy was like more for show, less for pro wrestling, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? But no one's going to take you seriously. Where, like, Bad Bunny showed up in the WWE and wrestled, and people thought, well, what the hell? Who is the Bad Bunny? First of all, but second of all, like, who is this guy? He's not a wrestler, but these guys actually came in and trained. And one of the benefits of having a developmental system, like NXT and the performance centers, these guys can go in and train, unbeknownst to most of us, because unless you're TMZ in Orlando, Florida, with a video camera at that studios, no one's talking about, Bad Bunny showing up at the performance center. No one's talking about, Logan Paul showing up at the WWE Performance Center. But these guys are going there, unbeknownst to the rest of the world. And then when they show up and have an amazing match at WrestleMania, people are shocked. But these guys put in the work. There's a huge difference between putting in the work and just showing up. And I think, again, with Logan Paul and to a lesser extent Bad Bunny, these guys show up and put in the work. Media M5 says, broccoli cheddar soup. Wow, what have I been missing most of my life? All right, man. Cheddar and soup is just a weird thing for me. It's very hard for me to get behind that, and I don't know what that is. I like cheese. I like broccoli. I like soup, and I don't like them together. Eve says, cancer sucks. Definitely seem like genuine wrestling buds having a nice chat. I still have to listen to him. He's a good dude. SoCal Crazy is a good dude. He's a guy I've known for, like I said, 20 plus years. Everyone in life faces adversity, and nobody is perfect. Nobody's beyond reproach. But he's been did so much to help the community, help wrestling fans, help wrestlers. I always think very highly of him. Matthew Underwood says, sorry, I just read Steve's comment. Matthew Underwood says the NWA should have a school PC. Yeah, I mean, 100%. And look, it's not like they don't have promotions or affiliations with people that have promotions that could just be the NWA school. I mean, there's like 4 people on the roster I could think of that have schools, right? Like Austin Idol's, Austin Idol's school out there in South Carolina. You got Morton's school out in, I think it's in Tennessee. Like, I'm not sure where in Tennessee, but in Tennessee. Tom's school, I think that's a part of. I think that's part of Tried and True. And then Luke Hawx, I believe, has a school connected to Wildcat. So any one of these places could be, deemed the NWA school, but it's probably better for Billy not to play politics and not to get involved with that. But I think that would be a smart idea when the time needs for them to grow. They're still in that baby phase, and I know people don't want to hear that, but we're in the infancy stage of what the NWA could and should be, and what it might be, because they haven't really got to that next level yet. They're just a step above most of the independent shows out there. They run once a month, 4 days in a month, and they do that. They run like once a quarter, really, and they're doing a bunch of tapings in that time. It probably runs out to about a show a month, and then they do pay-per-views. And then the pay-per-view numbers are supposedly doing well. The streaming service, I enjoy it, but let's be frank. I mean, it's not Impact going out there and doing their live events and the promotions that can do live events. I think it's very, very different. Willie Bowen brings up Steve Mongo, McMichael, and Kevin Greene as wrestlers in their promotion. Yeah, and even the guy that initially played the Kiss team, and not Crush, but the other guy, he was like a power lifter before he started in wrestling. And I'm not saying that you can't transition, Mongo wasn't great, but I think he tried, right? He just wasn't great. Hell, Bill Goldberg played in the NFL before coming to the WWE, or excuse me, the WCW. So it's not like people can't use their celebrity to transfer. It's just that you have to put in the work. You have to be good. You have to try. If you just show up, it's not good. Like Dennis Rodman and Karl Malone and Jay Leno. Come on, man. No cheddar soup. Stay out of Wisconsin. Yeah, I was in Wisconsin. I was in Milwaukee for a job that I was doing for a brief time, and yeah, I didn't even leave the hotel room. I just had pizza delivered. Media M5 says yes. Logan Paul, since he respects it a lot and wants to learn, he can. I agree. And then Matthew Underwood, I want to give credit. He's the one that brought up Karl Malone and Dennis Rodman. Shaq, and Shaq, like, okay, I don't know that Shaq actually went to wrestling school or anything like that, but he did look pretty good when he was in when he made his appearance for AEW. Now I don't know if that was Cody or what happened, but I think it was there. Medium 5 says at $5 a container now. I can assure you, I won't be buying this soup much. All right, fair enough. And then Medium 5 says the NWA is barely at impact level. And look, that's not a shot at them, right? Like that's not awful. Because when I look at the NWA, United Wrestling Network is a great example. Dave Marquez, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. They've been promoting wrestling events, live events, day in, day out, every month for maybe 14 or 15 years now. And those events, yes, they do pay-per-views, and I'm sure their pay-per-view numbers aren't the same as the NWA's, but they're on television all over the United States, plus their YouTube channel and all that. Now, do they do the same draws as the NWA? No. Are they doing the same numbers? No. But I also don't think they're spending as much money either. And now they're starting to even use similar talents. Like, Jordan Clearwater is United Wrestling Network World Champion, and he's a part of the Idolmania Sports Management, the NWA. He wrestled Chris Adonis as one of his title defenses. His next title defense is going to be against Carlitos coming up here next month. So, the star power certainly has something to do with it, but I don't feel like until you're actually doing tours and running live events that you take that next step. Pro Wrestling Guerrilla is a promotion that has, again, been around for probably close to 20 years at this point. And they have wonderful shows, but they don't leave the venue that they're at. They would still be in the Reseda Boys and Girls Club and not shut down. It wasn't a Boys and Girls Club. It was like a BFW. They'd still be in that venue had it not closed down. And I don't think, again, that for them, that's their business model, is selling DVDs and live events. But, for a promotion like the NWA, to grow, they're going to have to get out of just the studios. They're going to have to do monthly tapings. They're going to have to tour. And that was supposedly part of the plan before COVID, and they're just now starting to get back to it. So we'll see how things goes. Medium 5, Bill Casimir. Yes, Ted Arsenian. Yeah, a lot of good ones. Luthez says Bronco Nagurski. I don't know Bronco Nagurski. I'm going to have to look that up, Lou. Vince says Mongo was awful in the ring, but his promos were awesome. I remember his dog Pepe. Willie Bowen says Blackjack Mulligan, Chief Wahoo McDaniel were former NFL players who went into pro wrestling. Vader. Yeah, there's a lot, and there's some that we don't even know. Like, there's a lot of guys. Like, The Rock played football in Canada. I know John Laurinaitis, not John Laurinaitis. JBL played for the, I think it was like the USFL, one of the spin-off football leagues in the 80s. So, crossing over isn't the problem. It's just, if you cross over, are you going to be respectful and learn the business, or are you just going to show up? And again, to the point, I think Logan Drawls is not just showing up. Medium 5 says, nope, not a shot. As you mentioned, they aren't at that level yet. I like them more with Tharp was involved for Marquez, but yeah, look, Tharp's crazy, man. I love the guy. I didn't used to love the guy. He's just putting it out there. He's living his best life. Go follow White Lavender Jones on social media. But they did some interesting things while Tharp was in leadership. Of course, the relationship with New Japan Pro Wrestling, until that fizzled out, was great for the NWA. It gave it so much notoriety, so much spotlight. Again, the world's heavyweight championship at 10 pounds of gold was defended on a Wrestle Kingdom card. Now, I don't care who's champion right now. I couldn't picture the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship being on a Wrestle Kingdom card. And I don't care if it was on the undercard, it still was on the card. Could you imagine the 10 pounds of gold being at All Out? Could you imagine the 10 pounds of gold being at WrestleMania? These seem very unrealistic. But when Tharp was in charge of the NWA, it didn't seem that far off. From the WWE, okay, probably not. AEW wasn't really a thing, but for him maybe to show up in Impact, I would have been surprised if Rob Conway showed up in Impact with the 10 pounds of gold. I wouldn't be surprised right now to see Trevor Murdoch show up in Impact with the 10 pounds of gold either, though. He says Logan Draw is freaking cool looking. If I gamed, I'd play as him. Absolutely. He looks like a freaking Pokemon trainer when he comes out to the ring with the Charizard card around his neck. That's crazy. According to Pollo, our good pal Pollo Damar, William Patrick Corgan is looking for more dates in 2023, so I think this gives him more hopes for the fan base. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'm sorry, Lou. I'm not familiar, but I will go research it as soon as this show is done. Have my word. Dave Screw says NWA is a place for a wrestler on the way up or on the way down, which is a good call for all involved. Yeah, in a lot of ways, it kind of reminds me of AAA baseball. For those of you fans of Major League Baseball, I feel like with the opportunity for, some of the talents are trying to get to the game, and some of the talents are, had their spot in the sunshine but aren't ready to let go. But I'm not saying that anyone who's wrestling in the NWA who were once in the WWE or AEW or whatever are washed up or anything like that. Far from it. Being in the NWA gives you a chance to reinvent yourself, gives you a chance to rebound. The closest thing we saw to that was Melina, but apparently, there was a lot of rumors saying she was going to go back to the WWE, and then it didn't happen, and then she was in the Royal Rumble, and then she was gone. But yeah, I definitely see that. Willie Bowen says Manny Fernandez, former Miami Dolphins player. He says White Lavender Jones. I'm telling you, that guy was always crazy. But as White Lavender Jones, this is a gimmick for the NWA, 100%. They should bring him in, let him be the manager, let him manage Jax Dane, give him the Heat Seekers, let him be the tag team, let him create a stable, an old NWA stable under the White Lavender Jones gimmick. He's just out there, man. He's living his best life. Lamb says, I'm still surprised that the NWA title has not been defended in Mexico in the Light New One era so far. Yeah, and the crazy thing about it is the relationship. Okay. Put my hands up here for a second. I don't know interpersonal relationships within the NWA. Okay, I don't know what's kosher, what's not. I don't know who's on whose side. I do know that Bestia, Seis, and Mecha Wolf as NWA World Tag Team Champions were in Mexico, in Tijuana, representing the NWA. They called them the NWA World Tag Team Champions. They didn't exactly defend the titles there, but they represented NWA in Tijuana, Mexico. And I know for a fact that Mecha Wolf said, Billy, if you want to do a show in Mexico, here's where you do it. And I'm not against it, man, because if you put a few Lucha legends on that card, you put a good main event on that card, you have La Rebellion take on another strong tag team in the NWA. I mean, that card could sell out, and you would have a great show. Now, would the gate numbers be high? Probably not, because of course the currency exchange and everything else. A show that I think we would have easily paid $50 for that I went to, I think I paid $10. So obviously the gate's not going to be as high, but Yeah, that auditorium would be an amazing spot if the NWA could do that show, could do a show there. And I think if they were to take it, man, lights out. Everyone but Ricky Morton. Are you talking about people who are former football players, or are you talking about people who Bruce Tharp should manage? How dare you, sir? How dare you, sir? All right, let's talk about the card for tonight because I think we have another banger in the making here for an NWA Power show. Of course, we're going to have some, we're having the North American semifinal tournament matches. If you guys just missed it, like there is a title tournament happening right now. We have 11 votes right now, and 82% of you are enjoying the tournament. Oh, he says the washed up part. Yeah, that's it. You're dead on with that one. The washed up part. Look, and the crazy thing is if Ricky Morton wanted to be a manager, I'd support it. If you wanted to be somebody in the booth, if you wanted to be like a modern version of Dusty Rhodes in the booth, I'd be for it. But man, I just can't get behind him in the ring anymore. Okay, so we know in the North, I keep wanting to call it North American, the national title tournament, we've got Brian Myers taking on Dak Draper. A lot of us here are supporting the young man, Dak Draper. I'm not familiar with this guy. I haven't seen much of his work outside of the NWA. So, and he's making his power debut, taking on the most professional wrestler, Brian Myers. I think that's going to be a very solid match. I have to my camera. I think it's going to be a very solid match. I really think that these two guys, Myers is going to get a good match out of almost anybody. Dak Draper has been looking very, very good. So I'm excited to see the outcome of this one. Lamb says, how can it be a semifinal matches when we have more than 4 wrestlers qualified? Yeah, Lamb, I think we both know the answer to this because Mr. Billy Corgan loves the triple threat match. So what I'm assuming is going to happen, much like the time when Adonis, well, no, it's not like Adonis when he forfeited the title, because I feel like it's, I feel like they're going to just build to that triple threat match. Because if we look back at the tournament that's happened so far, you still have Thrillbilly Silas and Judeus who need to square up in a match. And so then that would create 3 opponents. So I believe that's your semifinals will be, or your finals will be a triple threat match, I believe. Getting back to the rest of the show. So yeah, and then on the other side of that card, we've got the former champion Chris Adonis taking on Magic Jade Dumas. Another interesting thing to note about this tournament is the last 3 champions were all a part of this tournament: Adonis, Jax, and of course Mayweather. Now the only other person who held the title that's still in the NWA that wasn't part of the tournament and is not world champion is Aaron Stevens. He was not invited to be a part of the tournament because his role within the company seems to be ever evolving. But Chris Adonis, former 2-time champion, taking on Magic Jade Dumas. This match will tell me everything about the NWA. If Dumas goes over, which is a very strong possibility, I feel like they're starting to make that younger talent more marketable, more meaningful. If Adonis wins, then I feel like it's more of the same. And I'm not necessarily against Adonis being in the finals. I'm not even against Adonis being in the matchup against the tournament winner. But I'm really pulling for Dumas in this one. He says Magic Jake Dumas is like Tom's star pupil at FXC Wrestling. Yeah, I didn't know that. I was unaware of that. I think I still don't really like the gimmick, but I think the guy has a very interesting look. I think he could do something. I think he could do something very big for the NWA. I think he could be a star. I'm just not huge. I'm not real into the whole gimmick at the end. And then, of course, Scooby says, I like that they're pushing some of the younger and under talent. Yeah, right? Like, again, when we go back to who was in this tournament, who are these guys that we have never heard of before, right? Because there's a few of them. And I had it right here. Okay, so you have like Jade Dumas. He's been around. You got Dak Draper taking on Jax Dane. And, Jax, of course, he's a fixture for the NWA, but that was like Dak's debut match, I think. I think Caprice Coleman is someone who's been around for a while, but, still kind of new to the NWA. And, of course, Willie Silas getting his opportunities. I do agree that I feel like there's a lot more youth-oriented talents in this one, so I'm all for it. I like it. I don't know how everyone else feels about it. And then also on tonight's card, we got a triple threat match. Eric Jackson, who had a great showing against Homicide just a few weeks ago. Marshe Rockett, who I don't think we've seen him in action since returning. And then Joe Ocasio. I'm not super familiar with Joe Ocasio, but, I think a match like this is just basically to remind us that Marshe Rockett is Marshe Rockett. It should be fun to see him in the triple threat match. But I guess the real big thing tonight, and something that I'm sure everyone will be talking about tomorrow, is who is going to be Bully Ray's partner? Who's going to be that guy? I'm almost certain it's not going to be Devon. So who's going to be his mystery partner? It better not be Cyon. I mean, is it Tom Latimer? Could it be Camille? Could it be Kylan King? Who could it be? Maybe it's Big Strong Mims. He seems to be everyone's buddy. I don't know who it's going to be, but the fact that the interesting thing about this feud between Bully Ray and started out as Mike Knox. Oh, that's a great guess, Lamb. You interrupted me on that one. Rolando Freeman. It might be, right? He's the only one that hates Matt Cardona as much as Bully. It also might even be Trevor, right? Trevor has no qualms about fighting the Cardona family. The thing that's interesting about this whole thing with the NWA, with Bully Ray and with Matt Cardona, is it's starting to permeate outside of the National Wrestling Alliance. We're seeing, Matt Cardona and Bully Ray get into it on Busted Open Radio. They have a death match that's scheduled to take place in December, which will be after Hard Times, obviously. And Bully Ray is kind of, although I don't know that he's officially a member of the NWA roster, he's starting to spend a lot more time with them. Maybe he will be at Hard Times 3. But his feud with Mike Knox has permeated into a feud with just the entire Cardona family, specifically Matt Cardona. And, I think it's a great way for Bully to kind of stay relevant in this feud with Matt Cardona. And it's a good way to give Matt Cardona an opponent who's bigger, harder, stronger, faster. Dave Scooby says December 17th in Philly. Yeah. Matthew Underwood suggests Caprice Coleman. I mean, that's a possibility. That's certainly a possibility. Media M5 likes the Rolando, and so does Luthez. I mean, look, if you're going to use Rolando in a way, I mean, why not? I'm still going to go with, I think it's Trevor Murdoch. Matt says, I hope Cardona's not wasting a spot on the card with Rolando at Hard Times 3. Look, he's supposed to be defending the title against, he's supposed to be challenging Trevor Murdoch for the title at Hard Times 3. And this would be a good way to continue that story if Trevor ends up partnering with Bully Ray to take on the Cardonas. I mean, it certainly would be. It's certainly a way to progress things, to get things moving forward. I think the card we have right now for Hard Times 3, and I think the only match that's been officially made was Taya versus Camille for the Women's Championship. But I also think there's the other match that I believe they've announced it, Cardona versus Murdoch at Hard Times 3, and then the winner of the national tournament versus Cyon will also take place at Hard Times 3. I don't think we've had any kind of other matches announced yet, but the fact that they're building up the relationship problems with the Mortons and the sorry, my brain is not working today. And the Fixers, I imagine that might be a matchup that's set up for Hard Times 3. Kerry and Ricky versus Wrecking Ball and Bradley. And then also, I wouldn't be surprised if we get some sort of another match with Taven and Bennet versus Lara Belgian. We'll see how that plays out. And then, of course, because it's going to be in Louisiana, I'm sure PJ Hawx is going to have a position on the card, probably wrestling. If I'm going to guess right now, I'm going to suggest maybe he wrestles on the side. They'll probably put Luke Hawx into a match that'll be off the charts good. Scooby says VSK is just a little bigger than Rolando, so it could work out. All right. And Matthew Underwood says, won't it be a triple threat match with Tyrus? Like, here's the thing. So Tyrus has that buy-in. Not buy-in, but the Lucky 7 series. He held the TV title, had 7 successful title victories, and has that opportunity. But as our pal Trevor Murdoch says, it's his funeral. So I don't know. I don't think they're going to run it back and do Tyrus with Cardona and Trevor, but they sure could. Storyline wise, it makes sense. Tyrus has nothing to he has no dog in that hunt. He doesn't care if it's Trevor or if it's Matt Cardona. He doesn't have any love lost for either one of them. Willie Bowen says Tyrus should have a triple threat match with pies and a hot dog. That's good, Willie. Underwood Matthew says the Hawks for the U.S. tag titles. Yeah, man, I'm good with that. I like that. Look, I like the Fixers and I like them in that role. But that again, they can hold those titles all the time. They can lose them and win them back. It doesn't matter. I think the point of that tag team title is to create some stars. And although I feel like Luke and PJ are already kind of above it, I don't mind them making another opportunity. So I think I don't have a problem with them challenging for the tag titles. I don't even have a problem with them winning those U.S. tag titles. And Matthew Underwood says exactly. Tyrus left the belt in the ring on the last episode. So, I mean, I do believe that match is going to happen. And maybe that's the matchup for the event happening after the Hard Times 3. The premier live event, what do they call those? What do they call them? My brain is not working today. Anyways, the show afterwards, I'm pretty sure that we'll see that take place. And that's cool, man. I mean, you still need to have a strong title challenge for whoever wins the belt, be it Matt Cardona or Trevor Murdoch. Tyrus certainly looked better in his last two matches, really. He looked really good in the ring with Mims, selling for Mims. I thought that was great. We saw that also at the Always Ready pay-per-view as well. Lamb can hear the voice going, yeah, get some tea. I've got water right now. I don't have any tea in the house. I certainly need some. Steve says Murdoch is the Wildcat champion. Yeah, I did know that. He did win that title recently. And, hey, Playtime Wrestling Federation, thanks for checking us out, man. We're here every Tuesday. We'll be here tomorrow, too, from 6 p.m. Or starting at 6 p.m. Eastern with the other Alliance guys. And then we're also back here on Thursday nights as the Alliance guys. Pollo's here. Pollo, I'm going to just start sending you the links so you could just jump on the show. I told my wife that you did that event with Glow, and she was pissed that I didn't go. I don't live very far from Palm Springs, so I was thinking about it, but I haven't been feeling well lately, so I decided to stay home. Yes, Pollo. 100%. As a father of 3, yes, 100%. Yeah, that's, you guys distracting me there. Murdoch is the Wildcat champion, and I don't know how that's going to play into the pay-per-view. I don't know what's going to – Matthew Underwood is the resident Flip Gordon fan here. All I really needed to know is where is Flip Gordon on the pay-per-view? You know, he is not signed anywhere, so I believe he could show up anywhere. And so I really feel like Flip Gordon will probably be at the pay-per-view. Maybe he does get the match with Homicide. I don't know. Like, I haven't again, I don't have any privy information. My name is J Cal, not Gary Horn. I don't have the late breaking behind the scene news, but I do think I feel like putting PJ Hawx versus putting PJ in the ring versus Homicide at the pay-per-view. Imagine that hometown crowd if PJ Hawx won the title. We've already been seeing Homicide being more pushed as a heel. So having PJ Hawx in his hometown, you know, it's somebody that we know that Homicide was big on wrestling Kerry Morton. That was something he wanted. I think, I don't know. I would love to see it. I'm also of the volition that I believe the NWA should keep these partnerships with Tried and True, keep these relationships with AJ Kazana's group, and keep the relationships with Wildcat, in that their champions could appear in the NWA and vice versa, where, like Matthew Underwood says, having what Doty said is having Trevor lose the title to Matt, but still going forward as the Wildcat champion. I think that'd be fine. I would be okay with that. Poyo says, I have a sneaking suspicion the Hawks are going to be positioned in a different title picture. I mean, I could see that we were just before you got here, we were talking about how they could be in a tag team action against the Fixers for the U.S. tag titles, which makes a lot of sense. I wouldn't mind seeing them against La Rebellion again. The only problem is we just got that at the pay-per-view at the 74th anniversary show, so I don't think they're going to do that again for us, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, even the U.S. Tag Championships would be a good place for them. We all like them. Playtime, thanks, man. I do appreciate that. We're here, like I said, we're here usually 3 times a week. I did an interview yesterday, and anytime I do interviews, typically like to do those on Mondays. So we try to put a lot of fresh content here weekly. And then if I go to a wrestling show and they let me tape matches, you'll see those matches here as well. I have a couple of matches coming soon. If you're like Lucha Libre, stay subscribed to this channel. Willie Bowen says Laredo Kid, Danny Limelight could be great contenders for Homicide's World Junior Heavyweight Championship. I agree 100% on both of those guys. Both those guys are very, very good. I do love Danny Limelight. This is a very pro Danny Limelight show. He's been a friend of the show, so obviously, I won't give you an unbiased. I won't give you an unbiased review on Danny Limelight. I think so, but let's see. Boy, I mean, when it comes to the Hawks, I mean, that's one of the things. They're so versatile that either one of those guys, you could really slot them in the junior heavyweight division, the television title, the national title. I mean, obviously not the national title because they've been eliminated for the national title tournament. But then PJ and Luke as the U.S. tag champs makes a lot of sense. PJ and Luke as La Rebellion makes a lot of sense. I don't like to have the same matches on back-to-back pay-per-views, but again, I mean, it's going to be a good match. If it's La Rebellion and the Hawks, it's going to be good. If it's the Fixers and the Hawks, it'll also be good. Matthew Underwood says Alan Angels. Yeah, man, Alan Angels is out there. You know who else is out there? Oh, God, what's his name? Oh, he's the luchador that was in the WWE. Man, my brain's just no good today. Willie Slice Boogie's out, man. He's out indefinitely. He had a torn ACL. I think he's done for a while. Yeah, at least the rest of the year, probably longer. And Luke Bez says it best. Welcome to the freak show. The land of misfit toys. Yes, that's us. But all is welcomed. All anyone who enjoys the NWA, even if you don't enjoy the NWA, this show's for you, man. We're here to put it down, talking about the NWA. If you love it, great. You'll like our positivity. If you hate it, it's great. You'll like our negativity. Dave Scooby says, old school versus new school, LAX 5150, Homicide versus Light and Light would be so hard. It would be great. You know, Danny Limelight is such an undervalued athlete, and his short Callisto, Lindsay Dorado. Thank you, though. You got me there. Lindsay Dorado's out there as a free agent, too. But going back to Danny Limelight and Homicide, it is such a mixed bag there. You've got Homicide, who is very technically sound, doesn't do a lot of high flying, but a lot of just stuff that hurts, man. And then you got Danny Limelight, who's like a real life Spider-Man. That guy moves around the ring. If you check out some of our video shorts here, you can see I've been able to capture so many moments where that guy just surprises me. He'll dive out the ring, do a little dance, a little shimmy, then jump off the top rope and hit another move. The guy is so fluid in the ring and you know, just such a great high flyer. If Lindsay Dorado retires at the end of the year, that'd be very disappointing. But of course, you know, everyone's got to do what's best for them. I thought Lindsay Dorado was great years ago when I saw him in Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators and wrestling for some of those pro wrestling promotions in the Northeast and Southeast, like in Florida and stuff. I never felt that the WWE knew what to do with the cruiserweight division when they brought it back. Hence why, you know, Brian Kendrick and you know, I don't feel like they did enough to make that special. And who knows, you know, with Triple H at the helm, you know, no pun intended, maybe they bring back the cruiserweight division at some point. Maybe they don't, but I always felt like it was a great division. It had a potential. You know, the WCW cruiserweight division, I think by far was the best junior heavyweight wrestling in North America in the last 40 years. And that hopefully at some point we see something like that again. But yeah, I don't know. It seems we're not there yet. Yeah, again, you know, what's old is new again. And Triple H has certainly saw where Vince made some mistakes and has tried to right those mistakes. I mean, we see it with a lot of the talent that's already returned. You know, if you can't make money with Braun Strowman, I don't know, man. It seems like a lot of those guys that they cut, I never understood when they cut them. A guy like Samoa Joe, you know, again, I'm not unbiased. I love Samoa Joe. He's my favorite wrestler of all time. Samoa Joe, I think, should have had a WrestleMania moment. Should have been in the ring with Brock Lesnar. Should have wrestled for the World's Heavyweight Championship. He should have been World's Heavyweight Champion. Just my opinion. But, yeah, they let so many of those guys go, and they let the whole division go. And I'm just saying, you know, they have, before they were on Peacock, they had their own network. And they can make exclusive content. They've got the Performance Center. They don't need to have these huge, massive TV tapings. It could have been small stuff. Willie Bowen says the Gun Show out of Memphis Championship Wrestling, Blake Bulletproof Troop and Hernandez would be great matches with Trevor Murdoch for his World Heavyweight Championship. You know, Blake Bulletproof Troop is an MMA fighter. I don't know if I would want to see him in the ring with Trevor Murdoch. Hernandez, absolutely 100%. Gun Show, I think, would be a fine match with Trevor Murdoch. Blake Bulletproof Troop, I'd much rather see him wrestle somebody who's more, what's the word I'm looking for? Someone who fights more of a similar style. Sean Mega, haven't seen you in a while. Sean, thanks for being here today. Says Joe can't get cleared by medical. That might be it too. And there's a good chance. And then Lamb reminded me, yes, he did wrestle Brock Lesnar, but it was too short. Yeah, and again, look, I know Samoa Joe. He's not a young, fresh chicken anymore. He's been in the business for some time now. I mean, I was watching Samoa Joe in 2001 in Southern California, and since then he's been all around the world. He's been Ring of Honor World Champion, Impact World Champion, NXT World Champion, Ring of Honor. What is he now? The Ring of Honor TV Champion. I mean, he's a great talent, but you know, he's also put his body on the line quite often. So. But, guys, that's going to do it. You have about 4 minutes before Power starts. I hope you guys will check it out and enjoy it. Like I said, we'll be here tomorrow with Jeremy, with Scooby, and and we'll be talking about all things the NWA. So thank you guys for being here. We appreciate you being a part of this weekly podcast. And until next time, we'll see you at the match. Thanks for checking out the pre-party, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. You should hit that subscribe button and join our community. I also want to remind you that we recap NWA Power every Thursday at 8 p.m. in the live stream. We try to stay social, so find us at the Alliance blog. And until next time, we are the Alliance.